From a squad perspective, I think we have the best squad in the league now. This summer transfer window has been incredible and everything an Arsenal fan could have asked for, and probably more as well. We wanted a top quality striker for ages now, since the last one we signed was Aubameyang, and that was back in 2018 or Jan of 29. No, actually it was 2018, correct? January. It was Wenger's last season. We were crying for a striker. We ended up getting one of the best available in the market, especially from numbers perspective, the best striker available. Um, who I think will end up having a very, very good season. I've said it many times. I think he'll score at least 20 Premier League goals. We needed, obviously, Partey had to leave, which is unfortunate from a quality perspective. Obviously, we leave the things that happen off the pitch until there's a ruling that comes out. But we needed to make sure we replace him as well. And for me, I still think we tried to replace him with Norgard, which is not. That's the only signing I look at and I say, I think we could have done better there. I think we could have. Well, actually, there's another signing which we'll touch later. But the Norgard signing is the one I look at and think we probably could have gone for a young DM, someone who's 19, 20, 21, just someone in their early 20s who probably can get to a top class level in a couple of years, but who can push the first team now, right? Because the thing with Norgard is you look at him and all you think about is he's only going to play if Zubimendi or Rice, one of them is not available. Probably if both are not available. The reality is, I think Arteta prefers Moreno anyways over Norgard. He's never going to push one of these two to sit on the bench if they don't perform. And I think we needed someone to try and compete as well for starting positions, not just to be available in case an injury happens. But outside that, I still think we had a fantastic window, honestly. I would say it's a 9 out of 10 window. That's how good it is. And I think we have the best squad depth in the league right now. We already had the best defensive squad depth in the league, and now I think we even have the strongest attacking depth in the league, and I think midfield is up there. If it's not first, it's top 3 for sure, right? And we strengthened our keeper position as well. I mean, we went from Neto, who could not even play the cups because he was cup tied, which is insane, to getting Kepa, who, just a couple of years ago was one of the most expensive keepers in the world. I know he's not that great, but I think as a backup keeper, he's a good option to have. We already have the second best keeper as a starting keeper. The second best keeper in the league as a starting keeper. So I think we're very strong there. I'm going to start with the defense. Look, I already thought we have the best defensive squad depth. I think we've made it even better by signing Mosquera and Hincapie. And look, I didn't know much about Mosquera. I'm not going to lie. I only watched him once or twice last season with Valencia. One of the games he got slapped in by Barcelona. But the few games I've watched him play for Arsenal so far in pre-season and the game against Liverpool, for me, I just looked at him and I was like, oh my God, this guy does look like he has talent. He looks like he has potential. Very, very good recovery pace, which is something I think we need in our defense. Saliba and Gabriel are quick. They can run, but they're not like blinding quick where they can catch speedy attackers. And I think Mosquera adds that to our centre-backs. Hincapie for me is another version of Calafiori, probably better defensively than Calafiori, even though this season Calafiori has been amazing defensively. He pocketed the living hell out of one of the best attackers, if not the best attacker in the league, in Salah last game. I've watched him a lot, to be honest, with Leverkusen, and I think he's a fantastic signing. The fact that he's a Kivior replacement is a massive upgrade for me because I think as a centre-back, he can play better than Kivior. And when he is asked to play left back, because he will probably be asked to play left back in a few games, he's not going to look as awkward as Kivior looked playing that position. He can dribble, he can run well with the ball, he can put in good crosses. He looks like a left back when he plays left back, which is really good for someone who's actually a centre back. And that's what I like about Calafiori as well. Calafiori is a centre back, but he looks like a left back when he plays as a left back. And I think he's been the best left back in the league the first 3 games. So. We've got the best defensive depth by far. I don't think there's any team that's close to us, in my opinion. Our starting back four of, let's go by the first 3 games, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Calafiori, and a backup for these 4 are Ben White, who can play right back and centre back, Mosquera, who can play right back and centre back, Hincapie, who can play centre back and left back, and Skelly, who can play left back and DM or centre mid. Like it's incredible squad depth and fantastic versatility as well, which I think is very important, especially if we get a lot of injuries. Midfield depth. Look, I said I don't think it's first. I don't know. Maybe you can make an argument for it being first, but I definitely think it's top three. Like if you look at our starting midfield, it's what Declan Rice, Zubimendi in the 6, Declan Rice in the 8, and Odegaard obviously playing as an advanced 8 or a 10, whatever you want to call it. And then the backup would be Norgard. As I said, the one signing that I think is slightly underwhelming for me. Could have done better there. Moreno, who I think is a good squad player to have. Brings something different when we need goals, for example. Good attacking threat. I think he's also good at winning the ball back, to be fair. Just wouldn't want to see him play as a DM. Because I think he loses the ball a lot in dangerous position. He's a bit too overconfident sometimes with his playing ability. So we've got Norgard and Moreno as the backup, and then we've got Waneri as the backup for Odegaard. Plus, as I said, we've got Skelly who can play in midfield, and I think he will probably get some games in midfield this season, given that we've signed Hincapie as well. And we've got Eze, obviously probably the signing of the summer for us, who can also play as a 10 if needed. So it's incredible squad depth in midfield too. I think there's a lot of question marks on our midfield only because, in my opinion, it's only because of Odegaard. If we get the Odegaard of the 22-23 season or the 23-24 season, I think we probably have the best midfield depth in the league. There's just question marks on, are we going to get Odegaard from 2-3 seasons ago, or are we going to get Odegaard of last season? And I still stick by what I've said before. I think we will get the best of Odegaard. I think he had a blip, but I don't think a player of his qualities will have that kind of a blip 2 seasons in a row. And then we come to the attack. That for me has been the best part about this summer. I genuinely think we've done a very good job. I'm gonna get the elephant out of the room, out of the door first. The one negativity, or the one negative signing, in my opinion, which I still think is a negative, is obviously Noni Madueke. I made it very clear before I didn't want to sign him. I didn't think it was a good enough signing. I think we've shot ourselves in the foot by spending 48 million plus 4 million in add-ons for a signing that in my opinion, like, we've got 2 right wingers in the team that are better than him, Saka and Waneri. So that for me is a bit of an underwhelming signing, but I still think we have the best attacking depth in the league, because imagine having 9 attackers where your 8th and 9th best attacker in ranking are Madueke and Martinelli, or Martinelli and Madueke, whatever order you have them in. That is fantastic squad depth. I cannot think of any other team in the Premier League whose 8th and 9th best attacking option are Madueke and Martinelli. As shit as they are, like, they still, some teams don't even have 8 or 9 attackers, and the ones that do definitely don't have attackers as good as these guys. So it's a very, very good place to be in. Like, our starting front 3 hopefully will be Saka, Gyökeres, and Eze in the long run, and then imagine for each one of these positions we have 2 backups. You've got Madueke and Max Dauman for Saka. You've got Havertz and Jesus for Gyökeres. And you've got Trossard and Martinelli for Eze. So it's fantastic squad depth. Honestly, I cannot think of any team, maybe in the world, that can boast of squad depth to that level in attack. So clearly Arteta took the injury thing incredibly serious, very seriously this season. And ensured to not only sign the players that we needed to sign, but also keep all the attackers that we can keep, to try and ensure that we have everyone available in case of injuries again. Look, I will say another thing, though. I do wish we signed a left winger. I do wish we got rid of Martinelli or Trossard and signed a proper left winger. That way Eze can compete with Odegaard in the middle. That sometimes we can start both of them if we're playing against a team where we know we're going to have 70% of the possession, to kind of shift it up a little bit. But look, I'm not going to complain that much, because the reality is Eze on the left is still one of the best in the league, probably. So we're still very, very strong. I think right now, just 2 things from my side. A, how will Arteta use this squad, because if he thinks of only using them in case of injuries, I think that's a big problem. He has to keep shifting his lineup. He has to ensure that he's giving a lot of these players minutes in the Premier League and in the Champions League, because you not only want to make sure that these guys are getting minutes, obviously to keep everyone happy and to keep them motivated and focused, which is not the biggest aim, obviously, but the most important reason is to ensure that everyone is match fit, to ensure everyone has that momentum and has that form, so that if there is a big injury and someone is called upon to start many games in a row, they're ready because they've had games before that. That's how Pep Guardiola has always been able to keep all his players motivated and focused when they're called upon to play games. Obviously, with that being said, that doesn't mean... I think you need to know how to use your squad well, when to start someone, who to sub someone with. So, for example, if you want to play Eza in the 10 in one game and then start Trossard, that's fine. If you want to maybe rest Rice, so you decide, okay, this game, I think I'm going to have 70% possession. So I'm going to start Zubimendi, Eza, and Odegaard. I don't need to start a proper 8 who can win the ball back. I can have Odegaard and Eze play together in the middle and then start Trossard, for example, on the left, or Martinelli, whoever. I think what he did against Liverpool was criminal. Like starting 3 DMs or 2 DMs basically, and I know Rice is playing as an 8 for us. I think people, when they say 3 DMs, they're saying it for dramatic reasons, obviously, to try and emphasize how defensive minded he went in that game. I think that's wrong. I think that's a bad example of how to use a squad depth. The right example of how you could use a squad depth is, you start a 10, like for example, you bench Odegaard, you start Waneri in a game. Or you want to rest Saka, so you start Madueke, for example. Or you start Max Dauman in a game where you think, I think this game we can dominate and Max Dauman can do well here. You rest Saliba in a game and you start Mosquera. That's you using a squad depth. You rest Timber in a game, you start Ben White, for example. Or you rest Calafiori, you start Hincapié. That's you using your squad depth. Not freaking playing Moreno, Rice, and Zubimendi in the midfield. And that is why basically brings me to the end of this incredible squad depth we have is amazing. But I think our biggest barrier to success, it still remains at the club, and that is Mikel Arteta for me. And I'm not trying to end this video on a negative note. I genuinely hope he changes my opinion. And he doesn't really need to win the league for me just to change my opinion. I don't need to wait that long for him to change my opinion. I can change it in the next few games. If he plays a lot more attack-minded, if he's committing more players forward, if he's asking players to track back a bit less when we don't need to. We don't need Saka to be busting his hamstring, tracking back every single minute of every attack of the opponent. We need to try and play with a lot more, with a lot of bravery. Because in the end, the best attacking teams are the ones that win the league, not the best defensive teams. This myth that people have in their head about defense wins you championships is BS. Maybe that applied 30 years ago. It doesn't apply anymore. The best teams in the last 10 to 15 years have been Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Liverpool, and Man City. All of them have the principle of attack first, defense second, right? All of them. We've had the best defense in the Premier League the last 2 seasons. Guess what? We finished second. In the 22, I keep using this example as well. 21-22 season, both City and Liverpool conceded the same number of goals. Guess which team won the league? The team with the best attack, City. Right? If we go with this mindset of, we'll just defend, and we have to make sure we avoid losing first, and then we try to win, we're not going to win the league. That is not a formula that wins you the league. It's been proven time and time again. If you don't go with the mindset of, I need to attack and attack and attack, and if I concede, it's fine because I'm going to score 3 or 4, you're not going to win the league. Especially when you go up against teams like Liverpool, Man City. I know they've had a blip and a bad start to the season, to be honest, but you still have Liverpool, unfortunately. So when one of them is bad, the other one is still great. When Liverpool were bad 2 seasons ago and 3 seasons ago, Man City were incredible. Now Man City are in the dumps. Liverpool are incredible. But the point is, you're still going up against a giant, a behemoth, who by the way, had probably the best transfer window of any football club ever. The only we had an incredible transfer window. Liverpool's is better, right? Despite not signing Guehi, it's still better than our transfer window because they're the champions and they went apeshit signing like the best striker in the world, or one of the best, if not the best, one of the best 10s, if not the best in the league. A very good right back, A left back who a lot of people said is very good. I know he's had a very shaky start to the Premier League, but again, like last season, he was highly rated. And then they have a backup striker who is good enough to be a starting striker for almost all teams, for most teams in the league. Probably the best backup striker in the league right now, if not the world. So we are going up against a giant, and to win the league against a team like that, you cannot be playing defensive. You have to be willing to outscore them throughout the season, which we have the capabilities to do. We have better attacking depth than theirs, and if you compare their starting front three with our starting front three, yes, you can probably argue that their starting front three is better. Their starting attacking three is better because Salah is the best in the league. Isak is the best striker for me in the league. Gakpo is a very, very good left winger. But I think Oz can give them a good run for their money. And when you also add the depth we have in an attack versus their depth in attack, our depth is much, much better, right? So in the end, it's a squad game. It's not a game of the starting 11s only. So yeah, I don't know if I trust this manager to utilize this incredible squad that the team has, that Arteta and Berta have built, and obviously I do before. I don't know if I don't trust Arteta to utilize the squad depth to the best of our ability. But if he does, and look, we've got Forest next, we've got City after that at home, which won't be easy. Don't think it's going to be easy. It's because they lost 2 games already. It will be very, very difficult. If we dominate those teams, and Newcastle, that's the last test I'd look at to get a clear idea. If he plays against Forest and against Newcastle defensive and sits back against City, I don't think he'll play defensive. Or actually, he probably might. You don't even know. Last season we attacked them, but to be honest, last season their defense was horrendous. That they gave us like City goals. This time we're gonna play them with Rodri available, and with a few games under his belt. We're gonna play them with Ryan. There is playing in the middle of the pitch, who's obviously been. I think he's a very, very good signing for City. So it's not gonna be easy. So we need to make sure that in those 3 games, Forest, City, and Newcastle, we go all out attack. Not all out attack, but as in we need to be like having more shots than those teams, more shots on target, more big chances created, commit more players forward. And we boast about having the best defense in the league and maybe even the world. What's the point of having the best defense if you can't trust them to deal with counterattacks, right? Like I've been saying that for like more than a year now. And I see others as well saying it in videos now. Obviously, I'm not saying that they heard it from me and said it naturally, but it's something that I've caught on like more than a year ago, and it seems like he doesn't trust his defenders to deal with certain counterattacks, which for me is mad given the quality of defenders we have. But it is what it is. Look, we'll see how the season goes. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you agree that we do have the squad depth, the best squad depth in the league. If not, tell me which team you think has the best squad depth in the league, and what are we missing outside, in my opinion, outside a better manager. From a player's perspective, let me know what you guys think we're missing. Don't forget to hit the like button, and please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And I'll see you in the next one.